Hello, welcome to MCN and the launch of the 2025 Ducati Panigale V4S. Now we're here at Vallelunga racetrack, which is near Rome in Italy, and just like any Ducati superbike, it's being launched on track. So you go back 7 superbike generations, all the way back to the 851 through the 916 and all Ducati superbike models, they're always launched on the track. Now the interesting thing about that is you don't actually see many Ducati superbikes on track, not until recently anyway. Ducati superbikes are kind of things to be enjoyed on the road. They've got character, they've got style, they've got drama, but they've never really been as easy to ride or as fast as a conventional superbike. And you haven't really seen many sort of UK track days or those big Flash Harry European track days that you get. But that kind of started to change a little bit. So when the original V-twin Panigale came out, it had a lot more performance. It could suddenly live with the 1000cc inline 4 superbikes of the world. But that was quite hard to ride. It was very stiff, it was very angry, very powerful. But then in 2018, when Ducati dumped the V-twin and started with the V4, all of a sudden the superbike became easier to ride. But it was still an angry little beast. But what's happened over the past few years, in 2020 and 2022, as the Ducati's been evolved, it's become a lot friendlier. Now, Ducati haven't really done too much with the chassis of the bike or the outright power, but the way they've made it easier to ride is really down to electronics, both the actual rider aids and the way the bikes are mapped. And now riders who aren't the test rider, Alessandro Valia, or a professional racer can extract the most out of a Ducati. And you see now that a lot of track days you see more and more Panigales, because all of a sudden the Panigale flatters you instead of disappoints you in a way, because you ride an original V4 Panigale, you're going 2 seconds slower than you think because it's all action. You get on a 2022 Panigale and you're going 2 seconds quicker than you thought because it's so easy to ride. And it seems like Ducati have found that magic formula for making a bike easier to ride on track, not just for the road, but you only have to look at MotoGP, where once upon a time the Ducati was a bike that only one person could ride, Stoner, to the situation now where there's 8 of them and they're all easy to ride and it's a bike everyone wants. So Ducati have definitely found that magic formula, and they've poured all that information into the 2025 bike. And although it looks very similar to before, it's very, very different. So we're going to spend a day here at Vallelunga. We've got 6 sessions to show how serious Ducati are about the performance of this bike and how easy it is to extract the most out of the bike. They're giving us a race engineer for the day, so got to get stuck in and ride hard. But before we get out on track, let's have a little look to see what makes the new 2025 Ducati Panigale V4S tick. The 2025 Panigale V4S very much got the same family resemblance than before, but all the bodywork is new. It's completely restyled. Ducati says that the bike, if you look at the lines of the bike from the side, is less on its nose with the bum up in the air and a little bit more flat, a bit like their MotoGP bikes, a bit like the 916 and 999 they say, although the actual appearance is nothing like those bikes. Aerodynamics have been worked on, so both the way it slices through the air, so the nose is 4% more aerodynamic, and also when the bike's turning from side to side, so there's more of a cutout at the leading edge of the fairing, so you can see more of the front wheel, a bit like a MotoGP bike. When you see it from the side, there's quite a big gap between the wheel and the fairing, and this, they say, causes less drag when it's going from side to side. Talking of aero, you've got new wings, although they produce no more downforce than before. They're integrated into the bike and they're colour coded. And you've also got a new tank with a different shape, just to help you hang on under braking, hang on when you're hanging off. There's a textured area down by the tank, which helps your knees grip onto the tank a bit like the stomp grips. And then the seat is a lot wider and a lot longer to help bigger riders move around the bike more, and that's really good news. The Panigale is one of the most roomy bikes of all the super bikes on track, and that makes it really nice to move around for tall riders. The pegs are relatively low compared to a Japanese super bike, so these changes have been designed to make the Panigale even easier for anyone to ride on track. It's also got a higher windscreen. There's better airflow through the fairing, so there's 9% better airflow through the radiator, 19% more through the oil cooler, and the footrests have been moved inwards by 10mm to give the bike more ground clearance. Onto the engine, well, there's not any big changes with the V4. It's still based on the 2014 MotoGP engine. It's still a force of nature. It's still got a twin pulse firing order, a reverse rotating crank, full of unobtainium parts. It's a fantastic engine. Ducati says it's got another 0.5 of a horsepower this year, so that basically means the power stays at 213 bhp, which is a lot. But that power and the torque, 89 foot-pound of torque, is made at higher revs, so the engine's going to be a lot revier than before. It's also got different cam profiles for the intake and the exhaust. It's got the alternator and the oil pump from a Panigale V4, the gearbox drum from a Superleggera V4, and the variable length intake trumpets are now 25mm shorter in their low configuration and 80mm longer in their longer configuration. And if you're feeling very flush, you can buy Ducati's full race titanium exhaust system, which costs £7,776, and then it will unleash a full 225 bhp. But now we come down to the real crux of why Ducati hope this bike is going to be easier to ride, and that's improvements to the chassis to give it more feel, and improvements in the electronics to make the power a lot easier to deal with. So if we start with the chassis, the front frame, the aluminium frame, is still the same design, but it's lighter, 730 grams lighter, but it's 40% less lateral stiffness to give more feel at full lean. And then that's complemented by that new double-sided rear swing arm, which takes the place of the old single-sider. Now that's going to upset a lot of Ducati purists, but I don't think Ducati cares really, because they've built this bike to be ridden fast very easily. So that new double-sided swing arm layout is much lighter than before, and it's got 37% less lateral stiffness. So that basically means that when the bike's leant over, it should generate more grip and a lot more feel. So this being the S version, it's got lighter wheels than the normal version. This has got new 5-spoke forged aluminium wheels. It's also got semi-active Öhlins suspension, unlike the standard version, and the Öhlins forks and the Öhlins rear shock are now 3rd generation semi-active units. And there's also new brake calipers, and one of the big things about these brakes now, as well as having race ABS for the track, full ABS for the road and everything in between, and being fully adjustable, it also lets you back in to a corner by regulating the rear brake pressure as before, but it will also add some rear brake for you. So the racers, they trail the brakes into the corners, but they also trail the rear brake into the corner, and rather than you having to do it physically with your foot, the bike will do it automatically for you, all the way up to the apex, as far as the bike thinks it needs it, which is very clever. Electronics have really been the key to Ducati's success over the years, and now Ducati hopes to take another step further. It's still got slide control, traction control, wheelie control, launch control, everything control, all of which has been refined. It's got a 2nd generation quick shifter and auto blipper. There's multiple riding modes, but it also has got what Ducati call a Ducati Vehicle Observer. And what it does is uses its sensors that are scattered all over the bike to simulate 70 virtual forces that are acting on the bike when it's slipping and sliding. This information is fed into the Panigale's IMU, along with the actual data that it's creating to help refine all of those rider aids. And then the cherry on the top of all those electronics, and something you can actually see and feel, is a 6.9 inch wide colour TFT widescreen dash with an 8x3 format. And that contains all new graphics for the road and for the track, things like lap times, a G meter, lean angle meter, and everything in between. Right, I hope I haven't made too much of a mess of that, but thank you for listening. So, halfway through the day here at Vallelunga on the Panigale V4S. Crikey, what a bike, what a track. I mean, this is the ultimate track day, and I've got my own data engineer to show me how slow I am as well. We've got another few sessions this afternoon, but before I do those and before I give you my verdict, I thought you might like to enjoy an onboard lap by Alessandro Valia. He's Ducati's test rider. He's the guy that you see in all the wild marketing shots, going sideways, putting massive crossed up wheelies. There you go. Here he comes now. He's been a test rider for Ducati for a long time. He used to test World Superbikes in '03, so he would have developed Neil Hodgson's feeder Ducati that he won the championship with. He moved over to the road bikes in 2007. His first job was developing the Desma Sedici RR road bike, so that's pretty cool. And he's had a hand in all the development of all the bikes ever since. He's very, very fast. So if you can enjoy this lap, have a look at the dash and have a look at all the different rider aid tabs flashing. Have a look at the throttle position, have a look at the lean angle. It's absolutely amazing. So enjoy. So this is the end of a very long but very enjoyable day riding the new 2025 Panigale V4S. It was a strange one actually. It's a very small amount of journalists on this launch, and each one of us had our own data technician. The person I was with works for the test team, and he's one of the people that dissects the data for Alessandro Valia, whose onboard lap you've just seen. So he knows his onions. So session by session, using the data logger that's available as an accessory on this bike, he basically just encouraged me to go faster and showed me places how to do it. But that's really by the by, because the most impressive thing about the Ducati is I've done 6 sessions, and although I'm tired, the bike hasn't beaten me up. And that would have been the case on any previous Panigale, even the new and improved 2022 bike. Even more impressive than that is the fact that the bike stays consistent in terms of its stability and its performance, lap by lap, session by session, even when the tyres run down. So normally with the Panigale you kind of get a bit of a golden patch, maybe the first 10 laps on a new tyre, the bike's nice and stable, and as soon as it starts to lose grip then it becomes a little bit wayward. So let's talk about the things that we know and love about the Panigale that haven't really changed. It's still got a really roomy riding position. It's even better now. It's even easier to hang onto the tank when you're hanging off and when you brake in. It's got a really nice big screen you can tuck under. It's still insanely fast. It still sounds magnificent. The brakes, superb. They always were. Whether these new high pure calipers are any better, you'd have to do a sort of a back-to-back braking test to see, but they're just phenomenal. So that's what kind of makes the Panigale so good. But the thing that's really changed it is the fact that it's so easy to ride. And why is that? Well, let's talk about the electronics in a minute, because the main thing on this bike is that double-sided swing arm. And although it might not look like much, Ducati are really hanging their hat on how easy this makes the bike to ride. You know, I mean, this is a pure track bike. If you ride this bike on the road, it'll be lovely, but you're not going to really get the benefit of how good this bike is. So the double-sided swing arm, I would be hard pushed to tell the difference in feel if you had the old Panigale and the new Panigale on new tyres. To me, at my level riding, I wouldn't really feel the difference. But it's when the tyres start to wear out is where the difference is huge. So the Panigale just stays stable. It doesn't tie itself in knots anymore. It feels more like a conventional 1000cc superbike. And you know, gradually it is turning into a conventional superbike, isn't it, with that double-sided swing arm. So as the tyre wears down, the bike just stays incredibly stable. There is loads of feel. It's hard to pinpoint the feel because you've got the new Olin suspension, which is fantastic. We're on Pirelli racing slicks, we've got SC0 rear, and we've got SC1 front. So even on the old bike, that kind of combo of Olin's and Pirelli stickiness would be really impressive, and I'd still be buzzing just as much. But the crucial thing on this bike is all these changes, the flexi frame, the flexi swing arm, make the bike a lot easier to ride. And although you could never, easy is probably the wrong word, because the braking forces are immense. The changes of direction at speed around here at Vallelunga take a lot of strength. It's a lot of strength to hang on. So by no means is it an easy bike to ride fast, but it won't beat you up like it used to. So, you know, if you're going to buy this bike as a track day bike, it's going to be a lot better than the old bike. And I would imagine, without riding them all back to back, it's going to be a class above all its 1000cc rivals as well. Okay, it's an 1100, but the fact it does everything so well is nothing really to do with its engine size. It's to do with its chassis. It's to do with its amazing electronics. And then let's talk about the electronics. You know, it's got this system that kind of creates these virtual readings, so the bike knows all the forces that are being placed onto it in corners. You know, it knows how much grip there is, it knows when it's sliding, it knows when it's bucking and weaving, and it tailors all the electronics to suit. And you know, we started the day on quite intrusive settings. We had the power map on quite low, we had the traction control on quite high, and it's still fast like that, but you literally can hold the throttle to the stop everywhere and it won't misbehave at all. You just literally point it where you want to go and it goes there. As long as you're used to the speed, I mean, that's the thing to get your head around. It's a very fast bike. Once you're used to that, it does not misbehave. You know, it is like a computer game, whether you like that or loathe it. Through the day, as I started to learn the track, I started to get quicker, and I asked my tame data engineer if we could give me more power, turn down the electronics. And all of a sudden, the Panigale became alive for me, and it felt like a normal bike. It felt like I could feel what the bike was doing. It was more exciting to ride. But the really interesting thing is the lap times are no different. So when the bike was docile and it just did what it protected me, basically, it saved me from myself, it did a lap time, and then when I was riding it, it did the same lap time. And ultimately it was harder to ride like that. So, you know, if you want to do a 3-day track day in Spain and you don't want to be tired out, you just want to go fast and have fun, and these electronics are absolutely worth their weight in gold. And then the other big thing, so there's three big major things with this bike. It's the flex, it's the electronics, and it's this new braking system. And it's the brake by wire, and it's the system that allows the back brake to automatically drag and trail brake into the corners. So the first few sessions I didn't have that on. I was using the back brake myself, and the data engineer told me that I was using too much back brake, and it was sporadic because some corners I couldn't reach it. Sometimes I was going too hard with it, sometimes too soft, just because really I don't ride on the track every day, so that would have been smoothed out eventually. But we eventually used this system. At first I had to tell myself not to use the back brake, so I had to keep my foot on the peg, which took some doing after teaching myself to use the back brake for so long. And it's incredible. So the back brake brakes as well as the front, and then as you start to release the front, the back stays on. And you could see that on the data. You could see where the front was letting off and the back was staying on, just to help the bike hook into the turn. And you could really feel it. The bike brakes flatter, and then as it turns into the corner, it hooks through. It's another kind of layer of making the bike easier to ride. It's just phenomenal. You know, it's Ducati have probably, they reckon this bike's about a second faster than the old one when the tyres are new. But you know, as like I say, when the tyres wear out, when you're worn out, then this Ducati is just as fast. And if you want a bike to make you look good and to be fast and produce good lap times, you know, this is an absolute no-brainer. Of course, some people will want something more analog. You know, you can buy a used superbike, something like that, you know, where you're feeling everything, but it's probably not going to be as fast as the Ducati, and not be as fast as the Ducati for as long. And whether that matters to you is kind of, you know, up to you. It's a phenomenal machine. You can kind of see Ducati have got this magic formula for making a bike go faster around the track. A lot of it's down to technology, electronics. A lot of it's down to making the frame more flexy and the swing arm more flexy. You know, they were talking about, you know, this bike's been a couple of years in development, and you know, they've tested single-sided swing arms against double-sided swing arms on the same chassis. They've had every permutation and combination of chassis and chassis thickness and flexibility and everything in between, and landed on this, which is fantastic. And then the electronics are getting more and more advanced. That new dash, superb. It's just, you can see everything at a glance. There's no glare off it with that lovely screen. It's just a joy. It just does everything perfectly, and you know, it kind of almost makes you feel a little bit like you're the weak link in the arrangement. You kind of feel that the bike's a lot better than you are. It definitely is miles better than I am, but that doesn't mean I haven't had an amazing time. So yeah, so the Panigale's really come of age. You know, it's evolved from 2018 to 2020, where it got a little bit kinder, 2022 a bit kinder again, and for this 25 model, it's taken another 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps into just being just an easy to ride, friendly super bike. It's your flexible friend. £30,000 though, it's not cheap, is it? So you know, on the one hand, if you want a really beautiful looking £30,000 Ducati, go and buy it. Almost doesn't matter what it's like. But if you're a proper track day aficionado, you want to go fast, you want to go fast safely, you want to go fast with little effort, then the new Panigale is going to be the bike for you. Incredible machine. That's all from Vallelunga. Thanks very much for watching. Another Ducati about to go out. There's one out here with the race pipes on, and it sounds absolutely phenomenal. But yes, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more like this coming very soon.